rations that you had during the war, Hershey actually manufactured those. So I always joke that's how you know exactly like how they make things. But yeah, their chocolate is actually rather gritty. But
Right.
but their confectionery, get to like a peanut butter cup and all those things are wonderful. So they're actually they're not great for chocolate, but they're awesome for everything else.
Dude, I'm getting so jealous right now because a couple of my buddies and friends are over in Japan for the Best of the Super Juniors with New Japan.
Wow, right on.
So there's a couple of guys who I know who I've met in wrestling they got invited. This is their first trip over there. So they're trying all the variations on the food, and like just dude, everything is better.
McDonald's is so good in Asia.
McDonald's is so much better.
So good in Asia.
KFC is so much better. Just like the candy, even the candies are better. I don't know. And maybe it's just that classic like grass is greener thing. Like I've lived here.
No,
life,
it's better.
So.
It is better. It's better.
I wouldn't know.
Even McDonald's in the UK, like, around holidays, I remember when they put the custard pies out and it's like the mincemeat pie. And I'm like, it sounds silly. I mean, it's heavy as hell.
McDonald's in Paris has macarons.
Oh, yeah. Oh, McCafe in Hong Kong also has like macaron. Our cafes in Hong Kong.
You guys have more travel than I have. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Been around a couple places.
Like I say,
but we can't do Cornish pasties here. They're terrible. Like people try to do baked pies and they're awful in North America. They're just not good. You know what they do here, Plex? When they make like a pot pie, they literally just make like a chicken stew and they put like a pastry hat on it, like the hat. It's like, so you just poke through it. It's the strangest thing. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. We're weird with that stuff.
Weird. See, Americans are just dull.
I don't know. I like Americans, but I love Americans because, well, now I'm biased, right? Because I spent most of my time in the Northeast, so it's a little bit different.
Sure.
But for me, it's like when I was in New York, living in New York, you could pretty much tell exactly where somebody stood. They didn't really dance around it. And people always get it wrong. They say like the New Yorkers are rude or they're mean, but they're not. They just sound that way because of their accent, partially. But
also the words they say to you.
Well, I mean,
fuck you, buddy.
Yeah. But the thing is, you're not guessing how they feel. They don't pretend. And
that's true. It is. And that's it is on the sleeve. I will say that.
And that's the thing. I always joke because Canadians and folks in the UK were surrounded by so much of this, like, you know what it is? You're polite, but they're not nice or kind.
Okay. That's
and
I think I know.
And like, I find Americans, they're pretty straightforward. Generally speaking, I'm like,
for better or for worse, depending on the scenario.
I'm gonna probably, I get it. Okay, I'm going somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, I know what they're thinking. So it's cool.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So outside of the Marvel and Stryker stuff, did anything happen with Boston? Because I didn't see anything, and folks had mentioned drama, so I wasn't.
Not as far as roster moves.
Okay, so there was no other weird stuff that had happened. That's why I wanted to make
statements which I put in our little section.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, you got to read those ones out because I.
Yeah. Oh, I got to let me pull those up so we have them. It is weird that you would even. I think you would point it out in our chat. Like, why even go through the point of like plastering that out there? It's
I always joke it's a trope. It's like an esports trope
right?
that every time someone goes, you future endeavor them. Like they've been future endeavored, and they literally you don't. No other sport does this. But esports like no, but we care about them. But you don't. You don't care about them. These players are treated terribly. So this is just
it's posture,
pageantry.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of like with WWE and how they do it.
Yeah. There's a great shirt, a future endeavor. It's like they made it like a Back to the Future style. Like font, and it says future endeavored.
I don't remember who made that
great
shirt.
That's one of my favorite wrestling shirts, but I've actually wanted to make one that was Overwatch themed.
Okay,
what would it say?
Themed. Oh, it would be future endeavored. It would just be the same thing. I would just take the same thing.
I just imagine it being Tracer darting across the shirt.
See, here's the thing: for esports, or especially Overwatch, nobody says released in unless they put a statement out like that. This weird one did, but when they just put a post like, you know what they always say, it seems not always, but like 90% of the time, we say goodbye to. That's the thing. It sounds so nice. Today we want to say thank you and we say goodbye to so and so. Thank
Unless
you
it's
for
San
all you
Francisco Shock, and
contributed.
then you just say it
It's
just
like today
randomly.
we have mutually decided to part ways with Drama King Matt.
Yeah,
He
mutual.
punched my cat repeatedly, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, you say that. Look up Kurt Zuma, the West Ham player. He's just been charged for.
Oh
something
my
like
god!
that.
Wait, okay, so I remember when that
He's
came
actually
up.
been charged for that.
He has been charged for it.
Yeah, under
Okay.
the Animal Welfare Act, I think it's called.
Yeah. I mean, animal. So funny thing, animal welfare politics is also very different in the UK. It's very, very different the way people approach it than anything you'll find here. The threshold is much lower for what anyone will be ever willing to accept. It's actually a very fascinating thing. I also love the hedgehog campaigns that exist in the UK to help save the habitats of the hedgehogs. It's wonderful.
Hedgehogs?
UK is also one of the greatest markets for hamsters, and you have a wonderful culture of like
Well, speaking of
nurturing
hedgehogs-
hamsters, critters, and I've always loved that about the UK.
Well,
It's a
speaking
funny
of
thing.
hedgehogs, we actually have. There's actually places which are like hedgehog subways, where you just tunnel out
Brilliant.
under a road, and the hedgehogs just another wildlife. Just
Oh, yeah,
wander
yeah.
through.
This was a big thing. It was a huge aspect of as there were as expansion occurred, like because the wildlife in the UK, you have so many critters, like the critters, it's like what is the fables of the green forest and things like that. And you've got to make
The animals
these
of farthing wood, that sort of thing.
Yes, yeah. I've always thought it's. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, I thought it was fascinating. I think I mentioned my missus picked up a 1905 edition of Mrs. Patty, something in the Patty Pan. It's Beatrix Potter 05. So it's
I think I know what you mean. Yeah,
not Patty Fan. Yeah. So all of her illustrations. So we did some reading. Because I've always thought Beatrix Potter seemed like an interesting character. So I did the reading. I never realized that. When she passed, she dedicated her estate to purchase
and it became the Lake Districts. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh yeah. I remember. I actually did hear about that.
What an amazing story! What an amazing person! Where it's like
cool.
you took all this inspiration and there's all sorts of stuff about managing industrialization, class support, and but then also like contextualizing it that animals are us and we are similar to them. So it was about. Doesn't mean you have to be a vegan or vegetarian, but it was about respect and appreciation and understanding. But she created a friggin' it's like Matt, she made a national park basically. That's what she did. I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty it's pretty cool.
So wild.
I hope to do something.
When you come to the UK, Matt, that's your next tourist destination.
Yeah.
I'll be there next week.
Hey, there you go.
Right on. Where are you going?
Nottingham.
Right on.
For that random ass that WES wrestling entertainment.
That's cool though.
Thing. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Take pictures, man. I really want to. I've always been curious about what the small shows are like overseas, especially in the UK.
This will not be a small. This is in Nottingham, the Motorpoint Arena. This is like a WWE arena.
Oh wow, that's super cool, man.
Dude, the main event has Alistair Overeem from the UFC.
No way.
Facing Braun Strowman.
This is so cool. Oh, that's so cool.
Bunch of ex-WWE talent. I think I've read that CJ Perry's going to be there.
Oh yeah, CJ. Whatever. Naya. Sons. Not Sons of Anarchy, but the Forgotten Sons. AOP.
Right on.
Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, the Influence from Impact, Jonah, Killer Cross, Kalisto.
Wow,
Mojo, of course, will be there.
This is a great card. Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, gee, I was like, the Sons of Anarchy. They come in their Harleys.
Yeah, I'm just about to do the Deonna Purrazzo match. That's going to show his biased a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
of course.
Hey, Matt, before we start, there's a question in the chat from Stretch. They're saying, hi, any advice on speaking with confidence?
Yeah, speak with confidence. No, before we'll get started here proper like in a second. Hi Stretch, first of all, welcome in. It takes time. It's not gonna, there's no like, hey, do this and you'll be confident. And actually, you know what, like it's weird because it's something I've been doing for so long. I'm a shy kid at heart, but being in wrestling and performing, for me that was it. It was just with whatever it is you're speaking about, it should be something obviously like it's hard unless you're a really good actor, it's hard to fake it. Like, but if you know the subject material, and actually something I think as much as I could probably speak to it a little bit, I don't mean to put you on the spot, man, but Plex, I would like to think that maybe even what we're doing here is maybe helping you, because I know this is a whole new thing for you being out here in this kind of a format. Do you feel yourself getting more comfortable? Like, is repetition helping? Just practice helping?
I think Hey, I've been streaming myself for a long time, but that even then, it's still a case of you just got to take it as it is. It's like with a video game, I can go, okay, let's say I'm playing Dark Souls, just for example. I can use that to sort of drive the conversation. It's like, okay, this is why I'm doing this thing, and that actually helps out big time. Because I can say I'm explaining what I'm doing, and people can go, okay, that makes sense, and all the rest of it. So it's not.
Sure.
So that actually does help, I find.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're there to watch me play Dark Souls.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, my thought process of how to play the game would be different to Richard, for example.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch me play games. It's awful.
Okay, let's say you play Dark Souls. How far would you get?
I wouldn't.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
You're talking to somebody who literally couldn't get past the training, like the tutorial in Dota, where they're like, "This is how a tower works."
Yeah.
And I couldn't get past the tutorial.
Well,
It's
to
an
be fair,
ongoing joke.
I can't get past the tutorial of Street Fighter, so
Yeah.
I was always a Tekken kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm
Stretch,
the
what I
same
would
way.
say, from my perspective is, Matt, you might get a kick out of this, but I got sent to speaking training.
Really?
Yeah, I was in one of my early jobs. I got pulled aside because I thought, oh yeah, I'm great at communicating. I can do these things. It's one of the reasons why I changed my timbre so much, depending on the nature of the scenario. And it's because I had one timbre and I thought it was good. And they were like, you've got to adjust it. And I had to slow down a lot. If you think I speak quickly now, you should have heard how I used to speak. I also had a speech impediment as a kid. So I had to go. Yeah, I couldn't say R's properly. It just, I don't know. And it was weird because when I thought I wasn't saying them, in my head, I heard them.
Yeah.
And, one thing, I know this sounds weird, but one thing that really helped me was working with a microphone versus just speaking in front of a mirror like a lot of people do. And the reason is when you have a mic and you have a headset and you've got a little bit of side talk. That's why I always tell folks, if you're streaming, never, ever, 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 ever have closed back like headsets, like things that are sealed, where you don't have your voice piping back in, right? Anytime you've got an audio interface, you've got to hear yourself. But what you'll actually hear is there's a tone you'll have where it sort of resonates in your head and it's going to sound natural to you. And what you want to do is speak towards the microphone.
Yeah.
So you're speaking to yourself the way, and what you do is you start to practice what you're hearing when you do that. And that's actually what they used to teach us in radio. That's why you do things like, you'll be like, you are listening to CRTY, Root Bear Radio, South Simcoe's Best Country, like something weird like that, right?
I'd say just a couple of other things from my
practice.
personal experience. So for me, I've mentioned on the stream before, I work retail. So I'm in front of people all the time. And that has actually been a big help. Because I was that guy. I was awkward and all the rest of it. So my experience in retail was a big help.
Oh, just that constant interaction. And
look up a film called The King's Speech.
That's a good lesson. That's
because I watched that film for the second time recently, and there's a lot about public speaking you can actually take forward.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I would suggest looking up that film, The King's Speech.
Yeah.
I think I actually have my speaking. Yeah, I do. I do have my speaking guide here still. Yeah, I still have it from Black Isle Consultants. It's very expensive. Anyway.
Always keep it around.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Stretch, thank you for coming by. Serious, just keep going at it.
Yes, practice.
Practice and just keep putting yourself out there. And it's one of those things that just comes with time.
And remember, you're always speaking faster than you realize.
When you said that, Richard. Yeah. And this is something I learned in performing. If it feels awkward, it probably means you need to go a little bit slower.
Yeah. And if the words get stuck in your mouth or they kind of come out weirdly, slow down and move the mouth more. Embouchure movement. It's weird. That's why radio people, Jay mentioned he works in radio. And if you ever watch radio folks and how their mouths move, it's always funny because it's not normal, because no one has to look at our faces.
Yeah. So you do all the shenanigans.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One last point on this. This is something that I always say to people with video games. We were all noobs at one point because we all got to start somewhere.
Damn.
I mean, hell, this is me starting podcasting.
Hey, and every journey begins with a single step.
Yeah, and you're a natural.
But
So anyway,
right.
shall we get the shenanigans on the road?
Yes,
Yeah,
let's get the
going,
meat of
guys.
this thing go. Ready? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. Yeah.
Wait, do you have to do the clap thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Did we
I
do
think
the
Rich
clap
wants to
thing
do it.
already?
No, I didn't do it yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to do it. We're about to turn
Brace
it down
yourselves.
to light the lights. It's time to. So, what's the Muppet thing? I don't remember. That's all I know.
It's time to light the lights.
It's time to start the show or something. It's time
Yeah.
to light the lights.
I just remember Waldorf and
Pop,
Statler at the top row.
Yeah.
Exactly. The little kicks.
All right,
Anyways, shall we?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of OverBOTCH, the Amateur Overwatch League analysis podcast with yours truly, the Drama King, Matthew Raywalt. We are joined, of course, once again by Richard the Great Root Bear, today representing the lovely Edmonton Oilers, and of course, Plexomatic as well. Here to break down all the action, all the shenanigans, and brutally embarrass each other versus as a result of our pick'ems and choices.
Yeah, it didn't go well for us, did
matches.
it?
Yeah, though this week
No.
was a bit of an implosion as we saw the debut of APAC and some wonky action and some wild results in NA as well. But the season continues to be a bit of a trip and in flux, which is cool and exciting as a fan. But yeah, blowing up our predictions for sure. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing just fine.
Nice and slow.
It was a really weird weekend, man, of Overwatch games. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Because I picked the match of the week, and it was the first game of the Thursday, and so it's really early in the morning, and that just sort of set the tone because I'm going to completely defer to you and Plex to talk me through APAC. But Define had a great game against Boston because they're a terrible team. I'm happy with that.
No, do you jump? We will get there. Don't
And,
you worry.
But I
And
thought
Mayhem
actually
did well.
the games
Mayhem
this
did
weekend were
well.
wild. Yeah, the games were cool though. A
Yeah,
lot
it
of
was fun to
variation.
watch.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Edmonton is playing tonight against Calgary, so that'll be interesting. I hope nobody
What?
in the drama club is a Calgary fan because now I don't
think
like
that
you.
dates this
Beware.
podcast whenever you're listening to it. But hey,
Yeah.
ho.
Beware. Yeah, because this will be. We are here on Tuesday. This will go out on audio on Wednesday.
Damn it!
But before we get into all the action, though, I did because I realized this was coming up, but I didn't realize it was actually technically today here when we're recording this on Tuesday. If you're listening, this is Wednesday. But it is officially 6 years since the launch of Overwatch.
I noticed that when I opened Twitter.
Yeah, everybody's talking about, all the teams are talking about happy 6th birthday. The official account is tweeting it out and everything like that. So I just wanted to take like a few minutes, talk about I figured we'd go through and just what brought you to the game. Obviously this has brought out a lot of, it's Twitter and stuff. So it brings out a lot of people talking about the lack of content over the last few years and all that stuff. And of course there needs to be a lot of, there needs to be more attention paid. I think we've seen all the criticisms and hopefully as the game launches in this new sector, we sort of see some of the, but we're not here to do that. We're going to have enough criticisms of the games. Yeah. So just really quickly, I want to know, because I don't think I know a little bit about Plex, but Richard, I don't know what brought you into the game proper.
So it's a semi short story, but okay. So I was basically at my lowest point in gaming around 2017 because it was bad. I was playing Star Trek online on console.
Wow,
that's bad. You're bad anyway. And I had this colleague who kept bugging me. He's like, "Hey man, go get Overwatch. Go get Overwatch. Go get Overwatch." I'm like, okay. So I finally basically went down. I was like, fine, I'll go get the game. Got it on console and it was fun. Had a good time. I had no idea what I was doing, but it seemed reasonably enjoyable. But I actually ended up doing all the work with the supporter club. And setting that up after, I knew I was going to be probably leaving New York, and I never wanted to be one of those expats who came to the city, hung out in expat areas. You made your dime off the people there, but you never knew anybody there. You never gave anything back. I just wouldn't have felt right. So I didn't know what to do. So I'm at Comic-Con, and I'm walking around, and then there's this kid, head to toe, Soldier 76. It was the coolest thing, like everything, visor. He had a huge rifle, and he was there with his mother and his sister. His mother's dressed up as Wonder Woman. It's super cool. So I literally go and I scream out oh, it's Soldier 76. He's reporting for duty. right? And like the kid stops, turns around. The mother's just like super happy, like because she's like loves that someone's, you know, like they put tons of work into the costume. And so I'm talking and she goes, "Hey, are there any bad guys here?" And I was like, "Oh, Talon, there's nobody here or there, because if they were, he would get them in his sights." And the kid's like loving it, right? But what it was is that he was in a fully like a powered wheelchair right up to the neck, a full wheelchair, and his hands, you know, could barely hold that rifle. And I knew anyone would know there is no way he'd would ever be able to play this game, even with any level of accessibility. And what I thought was amazing was here's this young man, and he's inspired by this hero, a soldier broken who's been rebuilt to become more and come back. And I said,
that's
so deep that the story got to him. So I basically said, if I'm gonna do anything in the space, I'll just do it with this game, because if it can do something and inspire this kid that much, there's something I haven't quite seen yet that I want to be able to see and understand and bring into my life.
Like I say, my story is a bit more basic. I just so happened to try it during a free weekend. I was like, this is just before the Overwatch League was about to kick off.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
So I was like, I actually did try Sombra before her big rework. And I was like, okay. I wasn't really sure. But as I started watching the league and see things from there, also done. And I will say this: Overwatch League has given me a lot of great opportunities, great memories. Like I was in a watch party in Discord during the Houston Outlaws match with the Zephyr Bastion stool. I think Richard might know what I mean.
Yeah, that's
the infamous
awesome.
Zephyr Bastion stool. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. It is the most iconic moment, not just of Florida Mayhem, but of any match of the Overwatch League ever. So I honestly credit Overwatch for giving me a space for like socializing, things like that. And obviously now I'm helping build that space as a moderator. So for me, Overwatch is going to have a special place, because over time, I mean, yes, the game could be looked after a bit more, but the actual gameplay and such, it's just so unique. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
so it's a unique feeling to just load up that game and select your role and hope for the best.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like it.
No, absolutely. And that's what I've always thought. It's pretty wild stuff. You know, the game is so unique, and and you know, I always thought for me it was that I wasn't there ever, you know, being good at the game. I know nothing about Bastion having shields. I don't know any of those legends. I remember Symmetra shooting sailboats at people at one point. But I'll show you exactly an example. I don't know if you're able to pull this one up so you can sort of see. So I put it, you're able to pull up this clip. This was when we basically made it, when things blew up in New York, because I only ever engaged with Overwatch primarily as a means to go out and throw events. And it wasn't like big shows. It was like watch events. And this was, you know, when we were there. So this is one of the early clips that came up, you know.
This is the original.
So this is when Excelsior, this is when Excel beat Seoul, you know, and there was a great call. You know, they finished them off at Lijiang Tower. It was crazy. And you can see what it looked like in New York when we threw the watch parties, because this is the New York energy. This is how we watch Overwatch.
Hell yeah. That's so cool. Is that Waypoint?
That's Waypoint Cafe.
Yeah, for those who are listening at home, this is footage from the NYXL 5 Deadly Venom supporter crew just going nuts at the Waypoint Cafe in New York.
You know? But the thing is, you know, so many people came through those doors. And what's funny is, you know, I keep up with those folks still. And, you know, we still do events, of course, you know, Curio Queen Tiff, she's still, you know, leading the charge there along with Gino. But what's amazing is, and this is, I don't tell a lot of people this story, but, you know, I have everybody's first day, their first photos. It's like your first day of school, because there was nobody there when we started. So, you know, I always joke, you know, when you know someone for so long, you can't really hide anything about your background. They know about you. They know where you came from. You can't really front too much. And it's been really interesting watching a lot of these, you know, they're quite young. Some of them were in high school, and I've watched them grow up. They've gone through college now. Some of them are in their first jobs. They've got their first apartments. But then I've also seen incredible things like, as one fellow, he had quite a bad stutter. You know, when I met him, he was really shy, and I saw that stutter slowly go away, and it was like it's such an incredible thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think was fascinating is actually it's Overwatch. Sure, it's a great game and we have fun, but we've been able to do things and combine them into something new. Use it as a context to do things. You know, you know, it's
just so much the game's sort of done. I mean, I always remember seeing a clip from I think it was like 2019 Overwatch League where you had a sign language interpreter and a girl in the crowd, and they actually worked out a system to say Genji, and like they actually had to make up signs in I think it's ASL for the hero names, and I thought that's incredible.
Yeah,
it just goes to show that this game has brought so many people from so many backgrounds together. I mean,
well, you know what's interesting? So I see two folks, and so Bert, so Bert saying I sound like an old man, rather old veteran, and I see Super Black Guy. I know you because you're hanging out with the Washington Justice Crew, Vice and Virtue, great supporter club. Remember when they started up. But you know, one of the things I've always been really proud of, and I think that this is a testament to when you see the values of this story, when we actually take them onto ourselves and we do something with it. You know, we don't just get sycophantic with the fandom. You know, we go beyond. We say, well, what if you do take a touch of this and make it something more? You know, numbers that you'll never hear. I always chuckle like every now and then an Overwatch League team will be like, we raised $2,000 for charity. And that's amazing. I think it's great when you do that. And then I tell folks, up until COVID hit, when we were doing our joint supporter initiatives, I would say the supporter initiatives I was part of have raised almost $30,000 in charity. But you just don't hear about it. Of course, and it's because we're doing all of our charity work at localized city levels. We didn't do them for the national level. So we were helping out things like adult literacy programs in New York, like specifically Dell's Children's Hospital. You know, I know the Florida folks we had to cancel the event, but they wanted to focus on drowning prevention. And, you know, when you take the game values and you combine it with how the league was structured, you know, amazing things. You know, we've literally helped people fight illegal evictions in New York. We've helped with daycare systems and outreach programs for homeless LGBT youth. All those things are just in New York. And you think about it, that started with this funny game design and how you can make it your own. Which is why, Matt, that's why I always get so salty about the whole like using cities as brand names.
And I was just about to get into that.
So many of us who do this, and you're seeing another one right there. You like when you deal with you know, Super Black Guy. You could probably tell you the same thing, if not more. He and I have riffed before about what it's like when you know folks, you've been around areas where you came from the block. You know, my family, when they got to Canada, when we got to Toronto, I don't know if you got any Canadians in here, but like our first address was in Murray Ross Parkway. It's Jane and Finch. You know, that's you know, and that's what I think is fascinating. You know, but I'll always be grateful to that.
I will say, we've gone back and forth on this, for all the flaws of the franchise system in esports, you know, and there are a lot. To see some of those local crews again, and that you don't hear a lot about because they're not being tweeted about on the main accounts and everything like that. But I saw it in Texas with Lone Star Vanguard and stuff like that.
Amazing guys.
And all the stuff you've shown me with the NYXL and 5 Deadly Venoms, and you've told me, and I'm like, even if it's only, whether it's a group of a dozen people or it's, you know, 200 in a city, or it's 2,000, God willing, for some of the, you know, one day for some of these towns. I'm like, that is really cool that there is some kind of identity brought together there. Even if it's only a small group of people, you can make a big difference. And that's something that a lot of those other more, I guess, ambiguous, like esports, you know, like, and Liquid is kind of just everywhere. They're just all over Europe. Or like, so whereas that's, like I said, for all the flaws of the franchise system, it can help give some of these crews and these groups identities and give you, you know, a cause, something to work for. That is very cool.
I'm gonna find one picture for you real fast. Give me 1 second. Twitter,
one.
Just one. Oh, damn it, I've missed it. No, I got to see if this works. Advanced search is really weird, so it never works.
No worry.
Okay. Where's the account? There we go. This should work. Oh, I guess not. Team post.
Needle in a haystack moment, huh?
Classic.
Oh, bummer. I can't find it.
That's
sadly.
fine. Yeah. But, you know, show maybe find it. Share with
us
it
Discord
later.
Keep going, and I'll find it and I'll shoot it over your way.
Yeah, and then we can circle back. But so yeah, Overwatch 6 years. Let's hope there's a lot more in this push to the new game. But for now,
was that a pun?
Is it? Oh God, I didn't even think about that. Wah, wah.
Oh, dear.
Push. But this weekend, we saw the debut of the Asia Pacific region, the East of the Overwatch League, and it was a thing.
Better's
It was
nightmare.
it was so one thing I wanted to off the top, I saw a little bit of like flack and all that, like people kind of downplaying the APAC region for that very reason, that it was like, oh no, how can you tell me that these are like tier 1 teams, like this is also what weird stupid crap, and like this is not professional stuff. And I'm like, you know what, it is. I appreciate teams that can throw stuff against the wall, go try something up. That I will say one thing about NA, they find a meta. Don't get me wrong, and that's good. And a meta is a region. It's, for those who don't know, most efficient tactic available. But when it's like when somebody finds it, it's just pretty much mirrors across the board. Yeah, and then when it changes, it's mirrored across the board for a lot of games. And while the action is good, it's just kind of okay. I love seeing, dude. Science would never be anywhere if you didn't throw some hypotheses against the wall. If you just listen to the other scientists and go, oh, okay, I'll just do what they did. Yeah. So I will say that about the region. It was very interesting to watch. And you guys, what were your guys' initial takeaways? I'm going to pull up the scoreboard.
Yeah, so I've got it on my side. And I will say this. And this is going to sound, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I was actually impressed with LA Valiant. They looked competitive.
There was a lot of surprisingly competitive results in teams.
I mean, Guangzhou, I think, were the weaker team in that match. I'm going to stick my neck out and say it. It's like if Valley
in that first matchup.
Yeah, it's like if Valley can get everything sorted out, like hit a rhythm, I think they could actually win a match the next few games. It's like Guangzhou, I think, based on what we've seen so far, could be the weakest team in that region. I mean, Hangzhou Spark looks scary with their new roster. And they've kept like key pieces from last year. And they've upgraded from their academy team, Billy Gaming. I'm not going to say, I mean, Seoul Dynasty, for the love of God, do not put Smurf on Zarya. Keep him on Winston.
Yeah.
Winston only, and pray.
Yeah.
Or find someone who actually plays Zarya. Because honestly, God, Smurf on Winston was brilliant. They seem to really know what they're doing. Smurf on Zarya, on the other hand, he just looked like a fish out of water.
Yeah, definitely some jitters or a little bit of uncomfortability there.
Yeah, so, hey, and then Shanghai, I'm not going to read too much into because like Philly Fusion looked. I think they are going to run Shanghai close this season.
Yeah,
in terms of the APAC, because you've got a good blend of rookies and experienced heads in that lineup. MN3 looks really good.
MN3 look nuts.
The player I want to highlight on Fusion is Zest.
Yes.
Zest, I think, is a sleeper for Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. He played what? Tracer, Echo, and Genji at one point. And he looked comfortable in all those picks.
Yeah, versatility was huge.
I'll be interested to see him play like actual projectile heroes, such as say, Farah. I'll be interested to see how he gets on with that, because he legit looks like the complete package to me. And then also, quick shout out to Aim God stepping in under rather tragic circumstances. He looks really decent as well. Like, in that first map against Shanghai, they looked like they were making Shanghai uncomfortable. It's like make your opponents uncomfortable, they can't get their rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, when Fury came in to play the Zarya, see that changed. Shanghai still grew into the game, but the way they played the Winston comp, I thought was brilliant. It's clearly something they've worked on to make Shanghai uncomfortable in their play.
Yeah. What was it? Was it God, it almost feels like so long ago because it was Friday at 5 a.m, maybe. But,
yeah.
For me. Yeah. But this was the game, right? This was game one where they had that King's Row map where Philly rode the overtime.
Yeah.
Almost all the way through on the second time through, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So they also got
they rode it for like 2 minutes.
They also rolled out the Cassidy as well, which is actually something you don't really see at the minute.
Yeah.
Typically, it's Soldier +1 up. Because the thing that surprised me about APAC was how similar it was to NA.
Well, who played Cassidy? Who was it that busted him out?
It was MN3 on Kings Road.
Okay, because that's usually. I mean, I know Carpe is a pretty. He would have been the one he's the cowboy kind of guy.
Yeah,
that I remember from seasons past.
I'd say because it's Philly Fusion also have a new coaching staff as well. They've ground up rebuilt, and it's clear that they have tried to sort of yes, we've got Carpe, Engod, and Fury, but we want the newer talent to sort of thrive. So they've got that balance right, and it's just really fun to actually see Fusion do that. It's like, you can tell the new staff have faith in the rookies, and you can see that with a lot of other teams like Krusty with San Francisco Shock, Gunbar with Florida Mayhem. There's a lot of faith put in these rosters and these rookies, and it's just fantastic to see the new talent thrive.
Yeah, especially coming in, like, it's kind of a whole, not to get too like metaphorical and all this stuff, but like with the push into the new game and the new game style, with a huge crop of rookie talent coming into the league this year, there is this kind of like, it's a whole rebirth. The whole league is kind of turning over and stuff like that.
I'll say, because one thing I noticed, not just with Fusion, but with Hunjo, Spark, and a few other teams as well, all these rookies, they're playing without fear. There's literally no fear in their play. I've noticed. I mean, with Mayhem, yes, they've got a very distinctive style and how Gummer wants them to play the game, but when they go in, watch out. There's no fear in their eyes.
You got to.
It's just fantastic to watch. Then you look at some of these teams built around veterans, and you can see there's a bit of caginess in their play sometimes.
Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of a hesitancy and stuff around it. But that's coming off of that the huge surprising 3-0. I don't think that was our match of the week. That is what we will all be punished for later. We all call, I believe me and Plex, we said 3-1 Shanghai. And then Richard, did you call a Philly win, but on a different score?
No.
Okay. You called 3-2 or 3-0?
3-1, I think.
We said 3-1. You said something
I would
different.
say 3-1 Shanghai. I remember that much.
I must have said 3-2 then.
Yeah,
I definitely thought Shanghai
we were all
was going to
Shanghai.
win.
I think we could agree on that one.
Yep.
I mean, I think everybody on planet Earth who was doing a pred or a pick'em or a podcast or anything was crediting the exact opposite of what happened.
Yeah, and it's actually an interesting statistic. Shanghai are yet to win their opening game of any season.
That's where I wanted to go next. Yeah,
they never have done.
I remember you told me that, Plex. They always drop their first game, and so I'm like, okay, we could chalk it up to like they're out of the gate. They always have a rough time. But that's going to be not my next point. So their next game this coming weekend was against Hanjo Spark. Again, a team in early power rankings and based on like last year and things we've seen before, are pretty low. They're in that bottom 3 of APAC, probably. You know, we've seen Valiant, Spark, and Charge. And man, game 2 for Shanghai, they did win, but man, Spark took it.
They were made to work for it,
and they really were like, and even when it came down to that third one, it was not like a runaway on any of those maps. Freaking Shy was in there. Alpha Yi,
Shy and Alpha Yi,
fantastic.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. The rookie talent were playing without fear.
Yes,
it's clear that the veteran players of Shanghai were having a difficult time dealing with it. It was really fun to watch.
There's been a little bit of talk of this, and I want the gentleman's opinion. This may as well talk about it now. So you see a little bit of it in NA. We saw more of it in APAC. One of the predominated metas is a Zarya comp with the Reaper on your DPS.
Dirty Bubble, it's called.
No, see, I don't like Dirty Bubble. Reaper's not dirty.
That's what I've heard.
I don't care if it's cringy. I've heard. I want Shadow Bubble or Shadow Dive. Shadow Dive. What come on. What do you guys got?
Honestly, I would know.
No idea.
I honestly don't know what to call that kind of comp.
All right, well then I'm just going to claim it for me and call it Shadow Dive.
Yeah, and I can see what you mean. It's like send the Reaper in with a Zarya bubble and hope he gets a pick.
And do some
I feel like Dirty Bubble though.
Why is it dirty? What is dirty about about Reaper?
Oh, I just thought it's funny because it's like a SpongeBob thing.
I think also it's a case of it's because he's sneaking in.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's something.
You know what? When I heard
commentary
dirty
team,
yeah, right.
they're the ones who coined it.
Dirty bubble. It sounds weird.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean though.
I did like all the Reaper in general. I was like, I just love
Yeah.
it. It was so cool. We're starting to see that like split now in the styles, which I think is really cool. Like in different maps now, like they've got sort of structures, but there's variety. It's nice because this whole weekend was variety, which is another reason why I was playing so much catch up. I'm like, okay, I gotta see how this works out. But it was like, it was clean, but it was interesting because I made a lot of assumptions around like teams like Seoul and Shanghai. It's like, oh yeah, they'll just muscle their way through. I'm like, no, you're not muscling your way through in this setup right now. And maybe that's a good thing. Honestly, maybe that is a good thing overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key factor in this meta is that it's all based around the Ana Lucio. It's like they're the predominant support line.
Yep.
So a lot of the heroes you're seeing in the damage and tank positions are heroes that bounce off those two. It's like you look at the default comp we've seen for a while, which is Winston with Soldier Tracer. In that comp, you've got Winston and Soldier, both nano targets. And in theory, you could also hit the Tracer as well. And also swap the Tracer out for a Genji as well. Then with the other comp, you've got the Zarya Reaper. And that increases the number of nano targets. So it's all based around the support line for what we've seen. I mean, yes, we're seeing a bit of Brig as well.
I was just about to say we're seeing a little creeping.
I love it. I love how Brigs are coming back. But depending on how you play, like even in the beta, you could do a ton of work with her.
Yeah.
So it just you have to have a setup that works. You don't dive into it, because you'll get smoked. But no. Again, it's like you saw a little bit of everything. There was a diva at one point. So that was interesting,
made an appearance.
The only sort of major exceptions in terms of maps we've seen are Circuit Royale, which is predominantly Sigma and Sigma Poke comps, and then obviously London Spitfire trying to force the Rush comp.
Right, and we will get into that in NA. That the match with Houston was very interesting. That map in particular. But before we move on from APAC, that Richard just mentioned it before. Some of the bottom half, it seemed like. Not a ton. I wouldn't say a ton switch. Philly, we presume would be in that top 3, and they were very strong. I think Shanghai still will stay in that. But there was a lot of teams in the bottom punching way above their weight, and teams on the top falling to those expectations. And one of those big ones to me was Seoul this weekend, who came out of the gate losing 3-1 here to the Spark, which was very unexpected. And then even when they came back and won on Saturday, but it was Valiant, who everybody universally panned. We touched on this earlier. Yeah. Valiant took 2 maps off him. And I don't know for sure. Maybe Plex, you've heard this statistic too. This season, in one weekend, the LA Valiant have won more maps than they did. Like, was it all season last season?
All season, they only won 2 maps, drew 1, and lost.
So now they've won 3 in one weekend. So, like, it's kind of a funny statistic, but I'm like, legit. Like in their opening weekend, they win more maps than they do the entire life. That is a good precedent to set.
And keep in mind, a lot of their players, they're basically a spare parts outfit.
Yeah,
all these players were sort of not really needed by their respective rosters, like Sassin, Hanjo Spark, Legsa, Chengdu Hunters, Dia, who I have a lot of respect for, was on the 0-40 Shanghai Dragons roster. So the fact that he's back in the league and actually playing on what seems to be a decent team, but then you've also got the rookies they brought in, like Becky. I think he's flex damage, I believe. And he actually looked really good. My only concern is, what if they have to play a main tank? Can Sassin flex over? So I could say that you need to play a Winston or a Reinhardt.
Right.
Because Sassin is an off tank, like the old style off tank. So yes, while Zarya's better, they should be fine.
But you got to have that, and we were starting to see a little bit of that flexibility come in surprising ways. It also was more in NA. What did we think of Chengdu? Given everything that was kind of hanging over them right before the season started. I mean, I believe, do we only have 1 game from them, or did we have 2?
They had 2.
They had 2, yep.
So they 3-0'd and then they got 3-0'd. So it's like,
are
they just gonna float the middle?
I think I want to see their next games before I make a call on them, because they face a presumed weaker team in Guangzhou, and then a perceived strong team in Seoul Dynasty. But I think it's a case of I want to see them against other teams first before I judge it. But overall, they're still playing the Chengdu way. Like, they will literally hunt you down, create as many angles as possible. But it's a question of can they do that in a 5v5? Because obviously in the past they had an off tank to protect their snipers and things like that.
Yeah.
And also, given the turmoil that's been going on, I think they need to sort of settle for a bit and go from there.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a interesting journey for a team that many people thought, with Shanghai aside, could have or should have been number 2 in the region, pretty much hands down for under a lot of people's guesses and pick'ems, etc., etc. But moving right along, we're gonna move on to NA. And the size come in. Yeah, it was another kind of, and again, I like a flux, funky week.
Oh man.
If they're,
Richard had an up and down weekend for both his teams.
All I will say is NYXL is a team.
Yeah.
They do. Again, this is a classic. We can confirm computers were plugged in.
They are a team.
They were connected to the video game, and they were breathing oxygen.
I think I sent you a picture of Yaki's face.
Yeah, Yaki.
Oh, I remember that. Was that the Florida game?
Yeah. I think that's in the
in our little over.
Plan.
Hands in his face. I felt so bad, especially losing to your former team.
And I will say, hey, that I do feel some sympathy for NYXL purely because of the Florida connection. And what I thought was a bit annoying from an observer standpoint, they didn't talk up the fact that Arnamo is ex-NYXL himself. They were more focused on Yaki Gangnam Jin than they were Arnamo.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we got to see the unexpected debut of Exy.
Yeah,
and that was great. I gotta tell you, look, New York, it's awful. Like, it's one of those cases where, like, you can see some individual things going well, but the sync that you have to have in this game is totally different, and you just see weird things happening. Their timing's always off. Yaki puts in pretty good work. It's a little bit small.
There's your admit.
Yeah. I mean,
like, and Flora had some good moments, right? There was some interesting Widowmaker play that kind of went on. Overall, pretty good. Callan had some great plays, but they happen like individually right now.
They're not going as a unit.
No, and that it drives me crazy. I'm like, if I could reach through the screen, I'm like hitting my desk. If I could like reach through the screen, slap him a little bit of front hand, backhand, and I'm like, I'm sorry, like, you guys are playing terrible. You look like the New York Islanders. You're awful.
I'll say to you guys, like, Keller was feeding so much Jesus could use him for feeding the 5,000 instead of losing fish.
And the thing is, it's like, he took out 3, but I'm like, how often did he die? It was.
I mean,
my props to the folks in New York for still meeting up and enjoying the game and doing that. But like, it's just a mess. They are a mess right now.
I mean, the best way I can put it is Season 4 Mayhem had OGE as their main tank. And you could tell there was a bit of nervousness in their play with him in the lineup, because the second he went down, everyone was like, panic stations. We've got to make a hero play, things like that. I'm seeing a similar thing with New York. Whenever Keller goes down, there seems to be a panic in their play. Whereas you compare it to, because obviously this is still kooky at this point. In Season 3, he had Fate as his main tank, and he was a very stable, I'll keep things going kind of player. And New York itself seems to be lacking that kind of player, especially in a tank position.
Yeah, that's the one thing everyone's talking about, the individual impact everybody has now, which is very much true. However, there is still that kind of with one tank, with it not being 2-2-2 and 2-2 now at 2-2-1. There is a lot of focus on that. Like, that tank can, depending on the team, that if that goes down, fight's over potentially. And there's a lot of teams that scramble when their tanks down. And I think on the other end of that, in this match in particular with Florida, I think someone is stepping up and has showed a lot of promise.
Oh yeah,
on that tank role, and that they're a rookie. Am I right?
Yeah, this is their first year. They just turned 18 before the league.
Wow.
They show a lot of I don't know what the word is, like confidence, and
it's clear that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, like there's this reservation. Again, it's not just hardcore feeding. It's not just like there's this this steadiness that would come with more time for most people.
I said this the other week on the podcast, how it's clear that Mayhem are playing and doing things for a reason. It's like they're taking fights in certain areas. They're not just jumping in. It's everything's happening for a reason.
Yeah, it's
paced. Even if it blows up in their face.
And that's what I think is really you can see that there's a focus on plays, structures, angles, movements, and I like that. I mean, it's the first thing you notice it even in the beta, right? It's that if you try to play this game the way you played Overwatch, you're done. Like you're already done. Like it's going to be a disaster because you're going to stretch so wide. And Excelsior gets caught in these spots where I'm like, that's how I get killed when I'm playing a game, because it's like you're playing wide. Like, it's like some maps are good for OW2, some are good for OW1. And it's like, if you're playing Overwatch 2 and you're on one of the OW1 maps and you're not playing smart, there's just too much distance. You get obliterated. And it's like they're playing as if they forgot that the game changed. And I'm like, you got to stop it. You got to stop being bad. Stop it. Stop it.
Just stop. What are you doing? Stop it.
Yeah, because you guys have to relearn the game. So,
well, I think it'll be good though, because what Gesture now is on as a coach with them. So you obviously need time, right, to take. Although I will say one thing that I noticed, because Dante made a tweet about this. I think I shared it with you. Like, you know what? I'll put it up. Give me 1 second. Actually, Matt, if you even find this on the secondary screen, just look up Dante. He talks about, I really wish I could actually play the game.
I bring that up on that one. Yeah.
And this is one of those times where I'm like, if they are only allowed to play that game under like controlled scrims, etc., that's the most which kind of makes sense, because there's nobody else in the game. There's no one to play against.
Right.
How the hell are you supposed to get better? Like this to me, and this is the one sort of like point of forgiveness I'll give to New York. And when I see a comment like this from Dante, and you sort of think this through, us not having access to the beta, right? Or any comp queues mean that they can't practice their own like techniques and skills in a rapidly changing context, which means teams, it will take longer right now to figure anything out. They're limited on what they can do. They're probably entering games more theoretically, but most importantly, it means their only ability to practice is in scrims.
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It is insane. So I feel for New York in that sense, because if that is the case, it's going to stay ugly for a little while, because they're approaching things with theory, and we all know what that is, right? Everyone has a great plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Everyone's got a plan.
Yep.
Until that, and I feel like that's happening to New York right now. They probably had a plan, and they're getting punched in the face. And on the flip side, seeing Philly just sort of cruise, through some of those maps, I was like, oh my God, right? I mean, I'm convinced even that distancing is one of the reasons why we're getting weird C9s, or people leaving the point. Like, that's just weird.
Yeah, there have been an inordinate amount of C9s in these opening 2-3 weeks where it's like, what?
And there's Lucio's everywhere, so I get it. They create distance. You always get that. The dive and Lucio knocks you back.
But there just seems to be a lot.
I know, right? And I haven't run the numbers. I don't know if it's just like, an emotional read, but it is weird. But so I wish them the best though, because if you can't practice, I don't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah, so it also could be that hitboxes may be different on Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1.
Oh, they are. They definitely are. I noticed this. They things click, like Moira's aim is different. Briggs' aim is is different. You do have to be a little bit more precise, and it's one of those times where like just time in makes a huge difference. And if they can't get that, I don't expect them to be able to turn things around quickly. I don't expect any team that's having a lot of trouble to turn things around quickly. And if you ask me, in a game that's always striving for balance, and we are trying to create a balanced league, that's a very bad position to put your players in, an entire organization, because it's going to crush their morale and spirit. You get to do scrims, get beaten up, go on stage and go on display while you get your ass kicked. What kind of, it's just weird.
Yeah. And
unless you're Toronto, and then they do real well. I'm proud of them. Hotba was hot, bruh. Like he was.
You got to see the Hotba Winston at one point.
He was.
How was that game versus Dallas though? How was that Dallas game, Richard?
I don't know. John Cena was around. I saw nothing. all I'll say is with Dallas, I'm like, Dallas is a better team. They just they smoked him. Like,
yeah,
it was
I know. Dallas
everybody was surrounded. Like, and that's what I love about the game. It's like when you see the kill feeds and like everyone's just surrounded, it's terrible. But what I loved is, and you see this a lot. It's like I love seeing these bloodthirsty Zaryas when they're like, because now they get the boost in and they start using the right click and they're like flying at you, and then they just
boost, nano boost.
It's so good. And it's like this gigantic bodybuilding Russian woman coming at you, ready to hit you with a proton beam. It was actually really wild. Hotba was my team overall was great, but I loved watching Hotba's plays this weekend, as well as the other Zarya players in general. Although I do think it's weird that people kind of switch between saying Chorong and Trong, like Chorong.
Yeah, it makes
it's like Chorong. It's Chorong, like Chorong.
Yeah,
it's Chorong.
Which is as far as you know, what is the most accurate pronunciation?
I just said it was Chorong. I thought it was balanced. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's Chorong, because you wouldn't. A Korean wouldn't speak that way.
Yeah,
maybe I could be totally wrong, but I just thought it was really funny that they kept saying Chorong, and it's like such a Toronto thing because we don't say, like, a lot of people say Toronto, right? So it's like Toronto, Trong. I'm like, anyway, I thought about making a shirt like that, like Toronto, Toronto.
Yeah, I think
it'll be a tongue twister.
Yeah, but Valentine though was awesome though. I will say, like, Valentine was super fun to watch. Yeah, that was interesting. Because it's Valentine, it's another V,
Victoria.
Right? Victoria. Yeah, I thought it was really funny because when they beat the crap out of Justice, I'm like, Valentine and Victoria are beating up Justice, and their supporters club is called Vice and Virtue, so the double V treatment is crushing the double V. Sorry about that, super black guy, but I think
we do need to talk about Boston and what the hell happened there.
We abso-freaking-lutely. So let's get into the gritty. So a wild series of events is what kind of happened with Boston. So the rumors of all the drama, and let me pull it up, started before the weekend really kicked off even. Halo had reported, there are rumors that Boston may be looking to make a change. The names thrown around were indeed Striker and Marvel. And so those rumors were already hanging over the team. Further confirmed when the game on Sunday popped off and neither one of them played a single minute of it. And then finally confirmed yesterday when, let me bring it up here, the official release notification from the official Boston Uprising account of both Striker and Marvel. But as we discussed before this broadcast, not totally strange. We've seen organizations do this before, but the specific and very pointed way of having the president of Boston Uprising make statements on both departures and the let's just say the differing nature in the language used for each. Let me read these really quick.
Very kind right now.
Yeah, I am being a broadcaster and a journalist.
Yeah.
So let me read these. I'll read these really quick. So this is the Huck from Boston Uprising, the president.
You have to emote. You have to emote a little bit though in this, because I think that's the other thing that's serious.
Who are you talking to?
Okay.
It's not like I haven't been in show business before.
Looks like he's called the drama king for a reason.
Look at the damn.
You were a drama kid.
Damn right. Anyway, the president Huck's statement on Marvel's departure. Marvel has brought great flexibility and veteran leadership to our front line during his short stint with the team. But today we must sadly part ways. Unfortunately, since last year, Minsu? How would I?
1 second.
Minso
has been reflecting and dealing with personal issues. Together, we've worked on trying to alleviate some of those issues, but came to the unfortunate mutual conclusion that returning home to South Korea, where he can focus on his personal growth, would be the healthiest option for his well-being. Minsu has acted like an exemplary professional throughout his time with the Uprising and this process, and we wish him success in whatever he chooses to pursue next. So very, very caring, or at least again, the overture, as you know, we might get it. Very caring, very kind, caring about his health and everything like that, which I hope as much of it is true.
Can I read this one?
Sure. Richard, do you want to read it here? I can zoom in.
Wait, go back. Go. So before we do this, go to the headline on the last one. So is it the same thing?
I believe it's pretty close. Today we say thank you and goodbye.
The actual post, does it say president statement? If we go down, no, if you scroll down.
President's statement. Okay. Yes, it's the same thing.
Marvy 1. Okay.
Yes.
President's statement on Stryker's departure. Effective today, the Boston Uprising and Stryker have mutually agreed to part ways. We are grateful for what Stryker has brought to the Boston Uprising in his 2 separate stints with our organization, but have concluded that where we are as a team is not the right fit for Stryker at this point. Stryker is a talented player. We wish him the best moving forward. Huck, Uprising president.
For those of you who visit the audio podcast, Matt was having his head in his hand.
I mean, because Richard reading it with that emoji, it was just a.
But that is how it reads. That's how it looks.
A vast departure in those 2 things, literally sent minutes apart from each other about 2 different players.
I think the whole departure statement in esports is such a bad trope, cliche, like standard reaction thing. It's like, I think what you and I have talked about, and anyone I've spoken to will know, but like, I hate when teams like randomly change PFPs to represent a day because you're just waiting until the 30th of the month at 11:59 p.m. because it's changing right back. And I'm like, it's just this thing that you do, this participatory thing. But one, I've always thought it's weird. You don't need a goodbye statement for every single person leaving your team. Like, imagine like in the transfer, like in Premiership, if like every transfer had this like long, heartfelt goodbye. But more importantly, it's that these goodbyes are not all heartfelt. Like, they're not. You don't like, some things don't work. It happens, right? People get traded also.
Yeah.
This is life. And when every bloody movement has this, they lose all meaning. But then when you see the absolute, complete, like, disastrous write-up, I can't believe a company of any kind, forget, like, let alone an Overwatch, like an esports team that wants to live up to this whole concept of, oh, we're here and we stand by each other and we're transparent and we do these things. No. I'm going to call you on that. This is just, you really had nothing to say because you don't like the guy, or for whatever reason, there were problems. I don't know what they are. If we're on Twitter, we're just going to be like, well, I read a lot of things that were speculating. Yeah. I'm like, we're not going to go into that. But the point is, you got nothing to say. So the fact that you're trying to keep up this corny pageantry going on and on about how heartfelt and important, blah, blah, blah. It's such, honestly, I read that and I'm like, the Marvel thing just seems even like cornier now. I think that's an important message. And I believe everything that's written there. But then, like, take the time to write that. Like, people just get transferred. It happens. You don't have to go through this, like, this just cheap, phony stuff. It's so phony.
Yeah, I mean, even in traditional sports as well. I mean, I've seen number of times Premier League managers, Premier League teams, they'll sack their coach and we've decided to mutually part ways with X manager. I think to myself, we've seen the results. The players get off fine. It's just the coaching stuff. But to your point.
And mutually parted ways. I'm certain. I don't know if this is going to be a surprise to anybody, but what that means is they say you can step down, and we're going to say we mutually part ways, or we're going to fire you. It's not mutual. This is not mutual. Like, so super black guy. He goes, it's like sports is like a revolving door, and it is. It absolutely is, and that's why it's like when you're future endeavored. In wrestling, like, we wish them best in their future endeavors. And I'm like, if I read that one more time in a tier 2 Overwatch or esports like line, I'm like, you only write that because you've seen it. Nobody writes that. Could you imagine you got sacked from your job and you're like, Plex, we really wish you the best in your future endeavors. I'm like, no, you don't. If you cared about my future, you probably wouldn't have fired me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then you would have worked.
Give me a break here. Like,
I wouldn't know. I've never been fired.
But I mean, no. So on the flip side, I'll challenge that a little bit of the idea of, like, you're right, and I think most people with half a brain see through that. Like, okay, they're getting fired. But I mean, at the same time, like, as much as we say, like, we appreciate just honesty and bluntness and everything, everybody would lose their mind if whether it is WWE or it's one of these, or if they were just like, yeah, we can Striker today.
No, but
he sucked.
So Bert
So,
has a great comment. So you can bring this one up. I think this is a great one. He goes, "Is a point they shouldn't engage in any communication?"
And that's kind of where I was going to push.
I think they should engage in communication. And you just say just talk about the release. Don't make up this whole thing like they meant so much and they pet my dog and they clothed people, and they didn't. These teams can't even figure out a way to reasonably talk to their local communities, and you expect me to believe that they've made some endearing, like long-lasting impact on anything? The teams can't do it. The players are there for a job. I don't expect them to do it. They're there to play. That's what they're there for. And that's what I think is so corny. It's that you don't have to pretend so much. And that's the issue. You don't have to. It's lying in the end.
Yeah. And
it's being disingenuous.
Absolutely. The statements thing is weird. That the president's statements thing is very
a president's statement is a serious thing. See, you step in, and this is the other thing that I think is hilarious. Usually there's like an escalation. Usually you start off with like a coach might make a comment, maybe a GM, but it's like president. I went all the way to the top. It's like those guys who are those people who are so insufferable. They always refer to themselves as, I'm a CEO. Like, stop. Just stop. Yeah. And I'm like, the president's message says this. I'm like, okay.
Official.
Like, here's the other thing. Quite frankly, if you really want to write this statement properly, look, I was in PR for a long time. So, like, if you want this to read like a president's message, then you sign it with your friggin' name.
Not your gamer tag.
No. Like, for God's sake, put your actual name on it then. Make it the president's message.
Is it actually on the statement his real name?
No, it just says Huck. Uprising president. Yeah. So somewhere out there's some legal document that says President Huck. Yeah. And I got nothing against Huck. I just think this is a very objectively bad way of communicating with folks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, hey, I think well, lying, I don't know if lying is a spin. I think they're being disingenuous. Right? I think the statement is disingenuous. But Super Black Guy's saying, well, with Boston, they had a few issues with certain players, and they are trying to save face with fan popular players. And you know what? I don't doubt that. It had that. Look, I'm not going to meme on this or anything, but look, people have had personnel challenges. It does happen.
That's fine. I agree. But I think what the biggest takeaway for me is, I have no problem with a goodbye post or like we're parting ways with so-and-so post. I get a little bit. We're just being upfront. I get, because if you just like quietly let people go or let them, it may seem shady. I don't think it is, but it might seem that way. So I get it from at least a little bit. Hey, we're parting ways with so-and-so. Let's make a post. We're not going to make a big deal out of it. We're just going to post it. Gone. I get that. Of just being upfront about things. But the fluffy, flowery, or in some cases, lack thereof, statements, it's totally,
because they came out at the same time, it's like, I think you made it pretty clear what you meant. In which case, okay, that means every time you see the other statement, you're like, wow, are they like that person? And this is the whole thing. Like, I know in entertainment and digital, we're not really good with the whole concept of memory and maintaining the record or knowing what happened before the moment we were all there. But I look at this and okay, so look, to be fair, look, Super Block Guy's got a good point. He goes, I'm looking at Justice a few years with Balland, how we had a generic we released post and everyone hated us and he follows up by saying, and anytime you saw or heard about Justice, we were bashed for a simple we released post. Not untrue. I remember when that happened. And I think this is the whole problem with building up this concept of expectation of form. And this is the whole issue. We get mad because it's generic, but the things that are heartfelt are disingenuous. So what we're actually asking for is that we want disingenuous posts to fulfill our expectations of the form, that ultimately none of this relates to anything. And look, I'm not going to go off on this tangent, but we're dealing with an industry where we know players need support. We know some organizations are not well run. We know some players are not great, are bad people. I'll just go out and say it. They're not good people. We're asking for transparency. We want things to work, but our high watermark and the point that we sort of sit on is one where we're saying, well, okay, but whenever it's in public, we're just going to like make sure that it's mediagenic friendly and fits the expectation of pleasantries.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we're going to evolve or grow in a spot. Like, I mean, look, again, being an Oilers fan, I gotta tell you, like watching people comment on Evander Kane is like unbelievable. Now, here's the thing. We have the same problem. Like, one of my favorite Leafs was Nazem Kadri. And I know a lot of hockey fans are going to be like, oh God. And I'm like, but I get it. He's had some issues, but he's not having issues right now. And then the things that you see written about him, like, okay, you can not like him. I get it. Why are you guys being like racist about it? And then the whole thing against Evander Kane, yeah, he has a chip. He does have a bad attitude. He's gone through a bankruptcy. He's gone broken. He used to do the thing where he held up a stack of bills like a phone. It was really corny. And here's the thing, though, too. It's that, is everyone just ignoring the fact that he's also a black player in the National Hockey League? And there's a lot of people where, oh, he's getting what he deserves. I know where some of that's, not all of that sentiment's coming from there, but I've seen the sentiment that does.
Yeah.
And the point is, but we do have those talks. And I've seen fans get really serious about it. And the thing is, you have to have, if you want transparency, you want a healthier organization and a healthier culture, it's probably good if we stop acting as if the gilding of some of these messages is more than what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then that's it. But yeah, and the thing is, there's no good way to do it right now because of the situation we're in.
Yeah.
Like,
So, yeah. It's like, well, looping back to something we brought up earlier, like sticking to the facts. I mean, Albert for the Florida Mayhem, whenever Mayhem say we've signed this player or we've released this player, shortly thereafter, Albert, who is the sort of the guy in charge of Florida Mayhem, or he's involved in that transparency, he will come out and say, this is the reason. And he will stick to the facts. And he's been very good for that over the past couple of years. So there is, so yes, you can put out these statements and stick to the facts, which obviously with Boston, you kind of feel like they haven't really done that.
Yeah.
But Albert has sort of learned to sort of thread the needle almost.
I think you're right. It does remind me a little bit about, I mean, there's a reality, right? If you've known everyone who's been in corporate side and you see like senior executives get cut, it happens, right? Sometimes doesn't seem like it's right. Those who are inside, or sometimes it is the right thing because you know what's actually happened, but they're always handled the same way. People only ever say nice things, and that's what happens in the corporate world. For whatever reason, everyone's great, everyone likes each other, but they actually hate each other.
Oh yeah,
like that's what it is.
That's fucking life.
Everyone wants to get to the top.
That's like see, and Matt, there you go, right? That's it's not a failing,
kind of.
It kind of is life, right? Not everyone's gonna get along. What I think a challenge is, though, is that the difference here is that so much of the market of people coming in it's the youth. These are young people. They are looking to these examples. This is how they are being socialized, and they're picking up habits and patterns, and they're seeing it. And it's like, at least give people until they're like 25 to realize that the corporate world is a load of like, it's just full of just the worst overtures and pageantry. But now what we're doing is we're building this into not just their like understanding of the concept of like the work relationship, but we're applying this to their aspects of fandom and personal passions. And I just feel like that's a really crummy thing to do. It's a really, really bad way to lead them off. And again, Super Black Guy's got a great example. He's like, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just make the simple post. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
But it's honest.
Like you said, Plex, you stick with facts and you go through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one bad we release post will take your image forever. Yeah, esports is a different type. Esports, he says, esports is a different type of internet presence. And unlike traditional sports, your image online is everything. And one bad we release post will tank your image forever. Now, in a way, you think about that, that's probably, there is a lot of truth to that. And shouldn't we be working to adjust that? Because one of the problems is if all you have is your online image, wasn't that the whole reason we localized? Was to create permanence, a record, community memory, understanding who was on the block and the familiar faces. It's a sort of a beautiful, beautiful, it's a beautiful thing when that happens, Yeah. And I don't know, like sometimes I see this and I'm like, honestly, it's like I see some of these statements and I'm like, You guys new here? Because if this is how you think like the corporate world actually is, or how this stuff's supposed to happen, you've watched too many TV shows and you've seen too many really weird things, because that's actually not how it is. And I do
read too many dirt sheets.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Dirt sheets. Yeah.
The other thing is to like, I'm always again, it's sports. It's
life.
Revolving. It's life. And my thing is, especially, I don't know, like I'm with you, even on Marvel's departure letter, whatever the hell it was, the statement, as kind and considerate it was. This is a weird thing for me, and I'm like, it does come off as posturing, because like a lot of this stuff about like, well, he needed to take care of all this, and we decided it was best for him to do that. Shouldn't you let the talent decide if they want to share? I hope it was agreed upon with the talent that this was in the statement, because I'm like, sometimes, maybe my mental's screwed and I want out and I need to go home. But if I'm going to tell the world that, like, let me tell the world that, and not in a plain white statement from the president.
Another example of that, because he was meant to be on Dallas Fuel last year, but obviously he had to go home and deal with an injury.
Yes.
I think it was like a neck injury or something like that, or back injury.
Mm-hmm.
So
but
very
anyway,
story, but...
yes. So kind of moving on from this, because it was very weird and kind of ridiculous and just silly across the board, and silly. So we'll kind of meld it into one of the most surprising results. Sorry to our friend Super Black Guy in the chat, but moving it into one of the most surprising results of the weekend, the Boston Uprising, kind of after all this had kind of started to fold, they kind of brought a not new composition, but they played in what I think is their strongest composition, and in a bit of an upset, they whooped up on the Washington Justice 3-1.
I'm saying.
With was it the introduction or the because Punk has already played, right?
Punk was playing,
but they stuck with him.
Yes,
and I think it made a huge difference. Also, Crimzo was back.
Exactly. They mentioned this in the broadcast, how Boston have said that they pair Punk and Crimzo together, and then Exile and MCD together deliberately. So you see when they make the substitutions, 2 players go out, 2 players come in. That's because Exile still struggles with English. So having MCD as a Korean.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they mentioned this during the broadcast, which I thought was really interesting. But that being said, you could tell it's nothing on Exile and MCD, but they look slightly weaker with those 2 in the lineup compared to, because it's clear that Punk brought leadership into the lineup. And they were struggling last week because obviously Crimson was unavailable because of health issues. But then Crimson and Punk together, it's almost like you've got the spine of the team is those 2.
It's a really nice synergy.
Yeah, I mean, Crimson was hitting sleep darts left and right.
Oh yeah.
And he is just that sort of quality player.
So the other part about this too, with the releases, is I will say, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, Boston, I think, was one of the most, especially coming into this new season, and there's a lot of like flux going on, was one of the most overstaffed rosters. Probably they had like like 3 tanks and like
3 tanks,
which is a lot. Even
3 at each position, I believe.
Yeah, which maybe for DPS you want for some of those flexes, but man, like 3 tanks is a lot anyway.
Yeah,
like they needed to probably call.
It is, and especially with Striker, and they had 3 DPS as well too, which is normal. It's doable. That's the one role where you would have 2 potentially. It happens, specialists.
So you look at Florida Mayhem; they've got 2-3-3. They've got 2 tanks, 3 damage, 3 supports. So, and I think that's actually a pretty decent way of doing it. I mean, obviously,
I think so too.
Some teams are doing the minimum 6, but they're having the extra damage player or the extra tank player instead. So there's different ways of building a roster, but as you say, Boston were a little bit overstaffed.
Just a little bit. So they probably needed, like I said, to call a little bit. And so I'm excited to watch them going forward. I will say, so again, to call back to the drama a little bit though, and we're not here to like I said, to dig too much into rumor and conjecture, but
we
was a
love
statement.
to do that in esports.
Yeah, well, and we got to do it a little
We live
bit.
for dirt sheets.
We need the engagements, folks. We're farming here. We are controversy creates cash, right, Eric Bischoff? Let's go.
We're the OverBOTCH observer.
Yes,
now.
exactly. We will give you all the made up dirt. But no, so like one thing a lot of people pointed out to, and like I even remember this being a point of contention or like sticking out to me. So without going too far, the rumor, especially with Stryker and why the statement was the way it was, and there, again, everything floating around, is that maybe he was being a little bit hard to deal with, and maybe he had an ego, blah blah blah.
Allegedly.
This is all dirt sheet rumor, but maybe almost kind of interestingly alluded to in Punk's post-match interview on Watchpoint. I believe Danny was asking him like, hey, like a lot of people weren't expecting you guys to win this match. You know, you're coming in as a bit of the underdog. What was it that, you know, that you guys were able to do to bring out the win? And his first words out of his mouth were like, well, like we're a professional organization, which is a weird thing to say. You know, he's
very
like, oh,
corporate.
Man. Yeah. Like, but like, so here's
we are
my
a professional organization.
So like the idea, like normally you'd be like, oh man, like our synergy, our practices have been going so well, our scrims were good when we, you know, the synergy with me and Crimzo, but all the stuff we just talked about. But I there's a part of my brain that has to imagine like there was conflict between like Stryker, maybe calling them an unprofessional organization, blah blah blah, because the first words out of his mouth being, "We're a professional organization." Seemed cheeky to me.
I mean, maybe they've just been told very specifically.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's
it. If anyone asks,
well,
what you say.
Everybody is media. No, but it didn't feel like that to me.
How bad could Stryker have been if they brought him back? Like, here's the thing: if we want to go with this, where it's like if it's all the like, I don't think it's from all the way from the top. I think this is a. You know, this is what something that Huck did, and you know, cool. Yeah, I think that's good. You know, like put your name on it. It's a decision made by your org. If he's really this bad, why'd you bring him back after 2018?
So here's my theory on that is, so yeah, he was with them then, went to the Shock. They ruled ass.
Yeah,
well, and then leaves there and then comes back. So maybe he comes back with a little bit of an expectation of the kind of team he should be on. Possibly, you know, the idea of
small pods,
sort of thing. Yeah, maybe, you know, he thought he outgrew Boston, went to Shock, you know what I mean? But then gets released from Shock and needs a place to go, gets the offer, says, okay, maybe I'll carry this team to some victories or something like that. Again, now I know we're getting into the speculation.
I know, I know this, but over speculate. No, but again, you know, I have a feeling that someone's personality within this space over the span of what, like, you're talking, and this means that they didn't interact with the person at all up until that point, that no one's ever. Do you really change that much?
So that you're saying this shouldn't have been a huge surprise. Come on, basically. Yeah. This is not like
if that's the case, then you really messed up. You shouldn't have signed him.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think this would have come up in the talk or some of the
contract? Yeah.
You can be the most talented player on the planet, but you need to be a good person as well. I mean, just a bit of context.
You have to work with the team. You know?
That's why I respect Checkmate for the Mayhem, because he went from a full Korean roster to an English-speaking roster, and he went through the trial process again.
Yeah,
he literally went through the process and was like, "I'm going to put in the work to get on this roster again." And Checkmate has been going crazy this season.
Yeah.
It's clear that his work rate is there, and you don't really see that with some players. Like they think, "Oh, I'm this good, I could just walk into any roster."
Yeah. You know what would be the worst though out of all this? Like, what if in the end it really was that, you know, you got 3 deeps, you don't really need them, you want to remove them, but because they wanted to write so much about Marvel, it just makes Stryker look bad.
Yeah,
that's the way.
Like, wouldn't that be fun? Like, it's entirely possible, right?
Of course.
But one thing I will say though is like Stryker and Boston. Like, I will always appreciate going back to that opening season, Stryker facing off against SabielB and watching those two be these like linchpin movements when they were playing on Gibraltar, and how just and then they closed it off at Numbani, and Stryker and SBB, the way they would go back and forth, like, you know, it's like you know, Tyson Fury and Deontay. Like, you want to see them go up, and everyone gonna have a favorite. But when you saw them go, it's like something was going to be there, and those fights, and look, whatever happened, I it's a bummer, right? Because I do associate Striker, I don't associate Striker with Boston. I associate Boston with Striker, because those games were crazy. That stage 3 final in the first season, right, between Boston and New York, was something special. Like, the watch party that night exploded, but it was madness. So, I hope the best. I just wish him the best. In the end, solid player. Can't speak to him as a person. Don't know him, but solid player, and it defines for me a certain play style for Boston. So, may that play style rest in peace, because we are in a new game.
Amen. And speaking of the new game, we're also on the dawn of a new week. So let's take a little look of the week ahead. We have a match of the week to pick out. I mean, I want to pull up the schedule. I have my match of the week, but because it is my turn to pick once again.
Oh, and Vancouver lost. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Are we all surprised?
Is there any...
Vancouver lost, and the largest investor in Enthusiast Gaming is demanding they change their board of directors.
That's right.
Just saying.
The business. We'll start a second podcast to get into just all the business, the weird back business of some of these esports.
But we have to do it like SpongeBob with the executive treatment. Like, everything's got to be business, and it meets all 4 quadrants of our expectation matrix.
Anyway,
but looking to the week ahead. So my match of the week is actually going to be at the very end, but I want to pick out a couple of key matchups and just see what we think. Some quick preds, so to speak, and then we'll do our proper match of the week.
Okay.
So something that sticks out to me is Philly Seoul. Like, Philly looking strong, Seoul looking okay. Do we think Seoul comes back? Do we think this is a dominant Philly performance again? Quick preds.
I'm gonna say 3-1 Fusion, but with a caveat. Smurf play Winston.
Do it.
Winston. But obviously, and also on a more serious note, don't let Fusion dictate the tempo, because that's how they call out the Dragons. And Belos Ria is scary good. So good luck against it. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Fusion with that caveat of Smurf Winston.
Richard, you got a quick pred on that one?
Yeah, actually, I had the same score, probably a 3-1. I don't think Seoul's just going to have enough time to organize. Philly seems to have a good system running right now, and that's tough. And exactly what Plex said, they control, they define the pace, and that's how they gobble you up right now. So I'd say 3-1.
I believe right now in Philly Magic, I'm gonna say 3-0. I think Seoul hasn't
totally
had time
possible, man.
to get it together. That's just
they could be the shock of APAC.
They could be. If they keep on the roll and they find their footing. So as this we go. And that, by the way, starts Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, because the APAC.
It's one of those early.
They got to catch up too, because they lost.
Okay.
So they're playing some extra games. But moving into Friday. Nothing crazy here. We got Glads in London. That's a clean.
We've got the Richard Derby.
Yeah, Richard, I got to hear your thoughts on this.
Oh, Toronto's gonna smoke New York, right? Yeah. Like,
I wonder why.
It'll be.
Do you think
a disaster.
do you think New York gets a map? Anything?
Yeah, I'll give him a map. Because Yaki can pull off some pretty wild work. And Flora, like I said, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it on a map, and they're gonna win on a map where environmental kills will help, right? Because then a Kellen, you can get the most out of Kellen. The problem is you put Hoppa up against Kellen. It ain't even a competition, right? This is like
on the bench.
It's like putting in like the New York Yankees against the Staten Island Yankees. Okay, it's like basically New York's going to be like Little League, and they're going to be facing the Six. So there's no.
Can I just point out too that I love the irony of Richard's New York dialect coming out a little bit though when he's talking about Toronto whooping up on New York.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a disaster. It's gonna be you put hot up against it's gonna be a little bit of baby.
You also keep in mind that Toronto still have Muse to come in if needs be.
I know, and that's the whole thing. So, and we have a little bit more stability, and that's the thing. I think right now what you'll see is actually, quite frankly, is that Toronto. I think Plex, it was you that said it. The panicking. There's a little bit of a panic that happens, and it messes up their positioning and how they do the the retraction. Like it's almost like it's like everyone run. You know, it's like you turn the lights on and the hamsters run everywhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like New York needs to settle, but I do think once they get some time in to actually practice, because they can't even having gesture isn't going to help them because they can't practice the tactics. Because in scrims you don't show any. It's I won't go into that again.
It's a good point.
Yeah,
but I think they're going to need until the next stage to actually stabilize, and it's
possibly
okay.
a new master as well.
Exactly, and the thing is, I think that's fine. It's a long season, right? This is like getting real excited about baseball when it's like, May. You know,
Yeah.
like it's too early, or so I think that's what it's going to be. But again, plus like Hisu is so friggin' good right now. Hisu's awesome.
Finale.
Great. Although really stepped it up as well too. Like you're seeing more balancing. I feel so it'll be interesting. And then San Francisco is going to be the tar out of Vancouver. I think that'll be one of the shortest games of the entire year.
I
Well,
know.
it was
I mean,
at one point it held the record.
Yes,
2020,
correct.
19 minutes 23 seconds of total game
I think
time.
you will order.
my
I think
God,
if you
really?
order a pizza,
the entire game was 20 minutes. Of gameplay.
Actually, playtime. So not
Playtime.
counting
Yeah,
like
not
the ad
breaks and all
like
that. Yeah, really, less than 20 minutes of actual play.
So
I
basically,
didn't know that stat. Wow.
Okay,
yeah, no, so
for
on Friday, I'm
context-
going to order a pizza. I'm
Yeah.
going to order a
The match will
pizza,
be done.
and then it'll be there in time. And then when the game's done, that's basically when I know I got to call them to be like, the pizza's taking too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just for context on that stat, the Florida Mayhem held that record prior to that with the Boston Uprising match, and the Shock Titans match beat it by 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of how quick that match was.
That's wild. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see a repeat or perhaps a record break of that. But the next match I just want to highlight, skip ahead a little bit, is on Saturday. A nice kind of, this is I don't know if it's a toss up, but Florida and Washington, I think, could be very interesting.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think Florida has been very strong. I think Washington has had
Mm-hmm.
the highs of highs and lows of lows.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking whooping up on Atlanta and then losing to Boston.
Well, I think this game will be great too, because the Washington loss it was weird. It happens. It does happen. You lose, and sometimes you lose in a 3-0 score. They looked a little bit confused at certain points, but that's okay. I think it'll be a really cool game because I know Washington still has all the components, and we've seen them being able to hit that. We've been talking about the range, the upper to the lower bounds, and we know Washington's upper bound is up there.
It's high.
And they're going to take this again, not to sound too old school sports, but you'll look at the tape, you just discuss it, because the mistakes they made they're pretty obvious. So they just have to be like, don't do that. You know what I mean? Don't do that again. And I think actually that's going to be that's the game I'm actually most excited for this weekend, because it'll help us, quite frankly, understand what the variance is, what the distance is between the better teams, the better teams in NA. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think also you see two very different philosophies in terms of roster builds. So you've got Mayhem leading into the rookie talent, Justice leading into more experienced veterans. So it'll be interesting to see which philosophy of those kicks in. But Mayhem, taking my Mayhem hat off for a second, I think Mayhem have the more complete roster in that you could put that starting 5 in and they can play almost anything between them. And also, they share the workload as well. It's like, say, if Majed's not popping off, okay, Hydron can pick it up, Checkmate can pick it. It's like there's no emphasis on one player doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Justice, you can tell if Decay and Happy aren't having a good game, then the team struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I've also mentioned before that disconnect between the front line and the back line. It's like their support line keeps getting caught out. Almost like, and I think Richard can probably agree with me with this, is that Season 1 Florida Mayhem had that problem when Swoosh and Manitou would dive in. Zupa and Zebasai on the support line were completely sitting ducks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
also, I think the team only had 6 players, right? Didn't Florida launch with only 6 players?
Florida, no, they've got
for season one.
Yeah, that was the team. Starting 6 was literally that.
Yeah. that definitely didn't help.
Awesome guy, Sire player, and Zappis over the course of the season.
Well, all the revival guys, right? We all came from everyone came from Florida, which, by the way, beautiful organization. I say that deeply. Like, it's a well-run team and a well-run crew.
Yeah.
To Mayhem or Revival?
Mayhem. They were
So
they
they've got
were
better
really,
over the years.
yeah. But yeah, it's cool. That's cool. That's
So, yeah.
ooh, Solon, Shanghai again.
So for me, I just throw out my prediction. I'm gonna say a 3-1 to Mayhem. Not as a Mayhem fan, but as a sort of Overwatch League fan.
Sure.
Because I think Mayhem have the quality to stand up against what Justice throw at them.
I do too, and I think like it's kind of weird saying this about Florida given last year, but I think, and it's still so early, but I think they are developing and are finding a consistency.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not running through everybody, but they're not getting their ass kicked like phenomenal. So they're in that middle tier with that punch up potential, whereas Washington has those swings. I think Florida has it. I'm going to give Washington a little bit more. I think it's a close one. I'm going to go 3-2 Florida.
Yeah. I think keep in mind that Florida Mayhem have the strength and depth as well, because you've got Adam to come in. You've got Kariv, very experienced, and Exy, who was pretty scary on the Widowmaker when he came.
And Exy was awesome.
Wasn't Exy? Was he was on
209 ping, according to his tweet.
Madness.
Yeah,
and he was hitting shots.
Yeah, it was wild. So yeah,
it was wild. It was.
Wait, is there any update on his? Is he going to be?
I've not
Florida
heard anything
soon?
recently.
Okay.
No, but I think it's in the pipeline. He
of,
will
of
be
course, yeah, you would hope.
That's scary. You know,
the latest I heard was that. So this is the last thing I heard from Albert on the situation was he should be in Florida in time for the next stage. That's the current what I've been told.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I want to point out that is public knowledge. If you look at Albert's tweets, he has been saying that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, keeping everybody abreast of me. So yeah, I mean that's on ping from Korea, and let alone online in with his team, let alone what LAN could potentially look like. So
yeah, that is the scary prospect.
That is scary.
Hold on, before you go further.
Oh,
before you go further,
look at?
There's a comment from Super Black Guy. He says it's 3-2 Florida. Okay, and then he says, and then next he goes, "Don't tell anyone I said this." See now.
Well, you're called out.
This.
Yep, you are.
Now
we
can clip this.
That's
and
true.
Matt, you need to post this.
I will
on your channel. Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
I remember the comment on the last video. We didn't give enough love to Washington. Well,
no, but they again, good squad though. I think what we saw, the loss. I think the loss that we saw was just they got caught off guard a little bit. It happens. But what is the match of the week?
So the match. That's what I'm getting. The match of the week is going to be the very last matchup. And it's going to be Glads and Atlanta.
Oh shit! Okay.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
Another battle of two of the kind of predicted titans of NA.
Okay, we're good at predicting the big games, aren't we?
I love that it's the last game though, because I can for sure watch it, which is going to be awesome.
So somebody brought up this. This is not a good. I'll maybe come up with a more pretty looking one.
Did you use? Is this like actually a text file?
Yeah, it's just WordPad. It's just Notepad. Yeah, dude.
Notepad.
Yeah.
Matt, it is 2022. It is
I remember this.
24th.
I remembered this. That's what I was typing while you guys were talking about Florida and Washington. I remember this about 30 seconds ago. When after I get off this, I will make a note and I will make a proper, like, pretty looking.
Well, we could put this in like Google Docs, even like a Google slide. You can use
I will make a pretty background thing for us to do.
30 seconds to come up with it.
It's like DOS. Yeah. We're using DOS.
I just want it on record, so when I go, wait, what did I pred? I don't remember.
There's no autosave. You might forget to hit save.
Audio listeners are thinking, what the hell are we talking about?
I put this damn stream together. I think I could hit save. All right.
It's like next day.
Guys,
I forgot to hit save.
It reminds me. It reminds
me. So,
me.
anyways, moving on.
Okay. So, yeah.
Glad's Atlanta. It's going to be tough. I think, yeah. Well, Atlanta's strong, but has had a little bit of those pitfalls. Glads have had 2 reverse sweeps, but from 2 of the strongest teams in the entire league. So how much do you weigh that? So, I don't know.
With Atlanta, they actually showed us something different as well. Like they showed Gator and Venom.
Venom showed some face.
Yes, absolutely.
And they still got Speedily to come in at some point. I think it's like later in the season as well.
Yeah, that's not until I heard August at the earliest.
Yeah.
So they have a while. They got months to go.
Even so, right now they look really scary.
They look good, generally speaking. But their record is a little suspect, considering the strength of talent.
I don't know. We've had so many wonky results as of late. I just
know.
don't know who to throw myself behind.
I know.
So, Richard, you go first.
I think it's going to go 3-2 Atlanta.
All right, Richard's locked in at 3-2. Oh wait, no, sorry. You think Atlanta's going to win?
Yeah. So 2-2.
Okay, so I'm gonna
3.
2-3 because I'm gonna go up base off the top there.
Okay, yeah. I honestly don't know because
I think the Glads. I think the Glads are. I'm going the opposite. I'm gonna go 3-2 Glads. I think
you would.
I think they have this strong performance. I think they do have trouble closing things out, but I think
yeah,
I think the talent's there. I think Ons has been performing. I think Kevster has been kicking ass. Reiner is a freaking Chad. So I mean, I know Gator is and stuff too, but yeah, I'm gonna go 3-2 Glads.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is, I want to see Arns play. If you're going to run the soldier, run Arns.
Yeah.
Last week with Patapad, he was good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Patapan's hit or miss.
Yeah,
Literally.
he's been. I mean, you're going about the peaks and troughs of justice. Patapad seems to have that in his games.
Yes, himself. True,
So I
agree.
I think they need to use Arns Kevster a lot more. So that being said, I honestly don't know. This is one of those games where I just don't know what to call it.
But you have to. You have to.
Yeah.
This is.
I'm gonna have to suffer either way.
You're damn right. This is podcast integrity, baby.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say. I'm actually gonna go with Richard. I'm gonna go 3-2 Atlanta.
Okay.
Purely because they showed a different style last week. So they've got the Hawk Zarya style, the Doofus style. They've got the Gator Winston style. So I think they've got the versatility to come up with an answer against the Gladiators.
Okay.
We do have a prediction in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say with Glads, they need to run Arns to actually get anywhere, in my opinion. Arns Kevster might be the wild card all this.
Sure. Although, I mean, the other thing, not wild card, but something that I think is overlooked. We're talking about the tanks. We're talking about the TPS. Atlanta's support line.
Yes. OG Ultraviolet.
OG Ultraviolet is pretty cracked. They're the linchpin. As good as the rest of their squad, to me, the linchpin is that too, and their synergy as contenders teammates, as former contenders teammates as well, is really shining through too. So there's that to consider as well. And supports, I think, are having a much larger effect on the game in Overwatch.
I agree.
So we're all calling it a 5-mapper though.
Yeah.
So
I hope so.
Watch it be a 3-0.
We have a 3-0. Yeah, it's going to be 3-0 for Glads, as Super Black Guy is saying.
Our chat, he's probably our chat right now is predicting.
He's probably right.
No,
I mean,
way.
Look, he has
Not
numbers behind his profile picture. That means he understands
he has the science,
Horsey scores.
No way. There's no way this goes 3. There's no way this is a clean sweep. There's no way. There's too much competition. I can't see. Somebody would have to astronomically fumble.
Okay, you said so much there that that's now going to happen, and we're
damn it.
To clip you.
You're right. You're absolutely
so
right.
Now, Super Black Guy, you now get to do the thing where you've been exposed, but then you get to expose in return, and then the universe will have balanced itself out.
Oh my god.
It's going to be a great game, though.
It will be
really looking forward to it.
I do too. I think it'll be good.
It'll be a good game.
But speaking of which,
we
have to get to our match of the week from last week, which was that Philly game that we all got wrong.
Just a little bit wrong.
It is time for punishments. Our punishments this week were suggested by our friend here, Plexomatic, who had an interesting take on things. Just lighthearted, but we're going to rib each other a little bit. So, Plex, why don't you explain what our punishment for everybody here for getting it wrong is this week?
So, first of all, we suck at predictions. Let's throw that out there.
That's all the fun.
Yeah. So, the idea is we're going to take it in turns to roast each other. We get one chance to roast each host. We're going to go around the room and try and make each other laugh, essentially. Now, I'm volunteering to go last. So
all right, because you've got something in the bank. So
yeah,
so a little rib at each co-host.
pretty much anything goes. But we have previously discussed what's off the table, off camera.
Oh
so.
yeah. It's
it's
all in good fun. So
Yeah.
all right,
So-
I'll start us off.
Okay.
All right, so here's the thing, Richard. You are a worldly, knowledgeable man. You speak a lot of culture, of music, of food. Your lovely home city of Toronto is a wildly diverse, amazing city. Some of the wonderful neighborhoods in it. And Canada in general has wonderful influences in cuisine from especially in Asian food and Indian food, Middle Eastern food, much more than I get to see even in my metropolitan home of Chicago. There's so much more a wide diversity. However, if you try to defend Canadian pizza one more time, I will reach through the screen, slap you, knock those headsets off, because I don't care if it's Toronto, Vancouver, all the way to St. John, you can't make pizza. So just stop trying. You're done. That's ours. You'll never get it.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I was doing the big setup.
Right,
Because that's all I had. So
you have to rip me.
I had a couple things in mind for Plex, but I don't know. Because I could go after, like, I could take a cheap shot and do, like, same vein, take a cheap shot at, British food. But British food's pretty damn good. They've come up in the world culinary wise. So I'm just gonna say, Plex, you're too damn nice. It's the worst rib and insult in the world. But man, I am not gonna rest in my life until I get you to punch a kitten. And it's gonna be the greatest day of my life.
God.
The ultimate. Plex has always announced himself. For those who don't know, he's a moderator in my Twitch stream since like day one. Kind of always been the penultimate baby face, always kind of just calling everybody and calming everyone down and being that nice calming presence. But man, sometimes it's too much. And you, sir, I will turn you. I will be your Palpatine. And one day, somehow, some way, I'm going to get you to do something crummy because you're too damn nice. And that's what I got.
That's almost a compliment.
I know.
I know. This is the hardest thing. I was really struggling with this. I was like, what? I don't even know how to make a joke about this.
Right.
All right.
Well, you're
Richard,
up next,
you go.
mate,
Yeah,
so good luck.
I mean, Matt, all I was going to say is for somebody who speaks about culinary so much, as a man who comes from a city who puts entire salads on their hot dogs, whose pizza is a cheese casserole, and whose number one visiting location for tourists to visit is Rock and Roll McDonald's. I'm amazed that you could think you had the credibility to host a podcast where you're joined by someone from the greatest culinary city in the world, Toronto, and is also co-hosted by a cookie.
Wow.
But speaking of cookies,
yes, get him.
Plex, not only are you a baked good, possibly full of trans fats, definitely full of sugar, I find it strange that here I am every week with a pro wrestler, announcer, a man of the world, and a baked good. And of all the cookies you could be, you're a chocolate chip cookie. So derivative, so basic, so obvious. The cookies you could have been.
Tell him.
Peanut butter, raspberry thimble.
So good.
You could have been the greatness of an almond cookie from a great dim sum restaurant, but you grew up into your basic, simple chocolate chip form, which I think is so awful for you. Because not only is it simple, basic, sugary, full of trans fats, largely manufactured in factories, not by bakers, but by machines, but it's so American.
Whoa!
And they kicked you out of this continent. We've separated largely from the Commonwealth, and here you are, a lone cookie in the UK, secretly wanting to be not only basic, but secretly American.
Wow.
That was elaborate.
I
Yeah, it's more
just
elaborate
went
than
with the
yours.
cookies.
Oh, well,
All right,
I'm gonna follow up on that.
Capitan. Yep.
I have a feeling
turn.
Plex is going to obliterate us.
Why, he's gonna tear us
I know. I'm
apart.
just waiting. I'm waiting.
It's gonna rip our families apart and everything. Oh,
Oh,
He's actually over here right now, and he's punching the cat.
yeah, I'm still gonna in your wardrobe behind you, Richard. So,
All right,
anyways,
hit us.
starting with Richard, you're so full of hot air, you could start a very successful blimp company. I'll say that, like all that hot air that comes out of your mouth. Well, you could successfully run a profit on a blimp company.
Damn.
So yeah, and Matt, we all know the reason why your wife's still with you is so she can use your bald head to do her makeup. She doesn't need to pay for a mirror. She just uses your head. And that's why I went last.
You said you were gonna break Richard, not me.
I
No,
did.
he
He
said
said
I
his
would-
head off.
He said I would break. He didn't say based off of what.
So I knew I was gonna turn you heel. I didn't know it was gonna be this.
You went right in. You went. Matt, the only reason your wife is
Hey,
with you.
hey.
Damn.
I had to. I think it's safe to say I win on that one. So yeah,
Bravo.
Bravo, that's really Plex.
Bravo.
I've
Well
always
done.
said I could go there. I just choose not to a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, goddamn,
But when
I
I
appreciate
do-
it. Don't ever go there again.
Yeah.
No, that
You
was
wanted to
pretty-
tell
that
me
was
that?
pretty great.
I
That was
went
great.
with the ball joke.
That's classic. No, that was good.
Well,
Well,
that move, ladies and gentlemen.
content, baby.
Exactly.
So, if you want to see more stuff like this, as we, you know the deal. Hit all the buttons, the likes, subscribe, comments, push this stuff out there. We appreciate all of you watching live, watching on YouTube, checking out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find us OverBOTChed everywhere. And if you want to see more punishments like this, stay tuned to next week after we catch up on more crazy, wild influx Overwatch League action and more stupid statements and drama on Twitter, because that's what we're really here for. So until next week, for the great Root Bear, go Oilers, and for Flexomatic, I am the Drama King. This has been OverBOTChed. We will see you next week.
Oilers suck.
Hey.
And that's my out. That's good. Yeah, hell yeah.
Nah, and also, Richard,
Yeah.
I do not know enough about hockey to actually make that suggestion.
Yeah. I
we're
should
a
have
weird
gone after
team.
hockey. I went after pizza. I should have gone after
No, we're a
hockey.
weird team. And actually, Brian, so you got someone in the chat. Brian, you actually are right. Chocolate chip cookies are actually quite wonderful when
Yeah.
they're done well.
When
They
they're
really
done
are.
well,
It's all for
like
fun.
you're right, because when they're like they can be so boring and plain, but like when it's done, a really good gourmet, like fresh baked,
Yeah,
chocolate
when they're
chip
made
is
by-
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're
When
actually
they
made,
properly.
they're wonderful.
love.
And actually, all the cookies I had UK side, oh my god, so much better.
I'll say
But yeah,
Maryland's
no-
is a good brand. I'll say that much. They're
Yeah.
really good.
And we tend to do more like we got a lot of oatmeal cookies here in Canada.
Mm.
So like oatmeal chocolate chip is quite common. That's one
Mm-hmm.
of our, like, not just oatmeal raisin, like that's a huge winner. We also love peanut butter cookies, which I think you
Ooh.
have them in the state. I think
Yeah,
everyone
we
makes
do,
those.
but I
We make
will
them
admit, I'm not a
differently
fan
though,
of-
right?
I'm not
Yeah.
a fan of peanut butter. I never have been.
Mm.
But one thing
you're
I have discovered
fiend.
recently, it's like in my recent shopping, is
Oh, snickerdoodle.
say Fox.
Ooh.
So Fox is
Mm.
in the biscuit company, not the we shall not
Right.
name them. But they actually, I saw these recently. So Crunch Creams, like it's basically like an Oreo with, it's like what we call normal biscuit,
Mhm.
but it's
Mm.
with ginger. It's like ginger cream
Oh yeah.
and ginger in the biscuit. It's so good. So if you can find them, it's like ginger crunch creams, you can find them wherever you are. Buy them. They are really nice.
Right
Hell
on. Yeah. I mean, I've always liked, we have a lot of like Jamaican bakeries
I mean-
or folks that bake up. So
I'll see if I can
like a lot of
find-
molasses and ginger and just like incredible things. You
Yeah,
know,
I
it's
mean, I'll find like an image or something like that so you guys can see it.
Yeah. For
That's
sure.
super cool. Well, guys, I had a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
This was super awesome, and it's awesome seeing new people in the chat.
Yeah, I feel like each week
that's
we get
super rad.
new people. Absolutely, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and then hey, so sorry, before we go, so Super Black Guy is saying that Snickerdoodle cookie is the best cookie. Snickerdoodles, I didn't have them until yes.
Yeah, predominantly.
Yeah, they very much are. And there's no way to really send them to people because they're so like buttery sugar. They're everything's in them with that weird little layer of sugar crunchiness on the top.
Okay.
But I do, yeah, it's a very powerful cookie though. It's like once you have it, it's like an IPA. You're not tasting anything else for like an hour. And then
nice.
Brian
Again,
saying
I
that
wouldn't know.
yeah, and then Brian's saying he works for Carey Group and they have a chef who makes some breakfast and lunches and snacks.
Ooh, nice.
You know,
that's a nice gig.
So we'll end on this.
Business, aren't we?
We were in the wrong business, and I actually do remember like office canteens, like office cafeterias. Like my pops used to tell me stories about that. You know, used to work in factories, and I will say, the single greatest office canteen I'd ever been to was Samsung's head office. So everyone's like, "Oh, Google's awesome," or Facebook or Meta, Facebook. No. Best one, Samsung. Their head office, at least it used to be. I don't know if it's still there. Was in Dallas. So they had a canteen, and they had an entire section that made Korean food, as you can imagine, because it's Samsung's head office, and it was so damn good because everyone from like junior staff all the way till like the senior execs would eat in the canteen. It's not unlike in Japan. So it's like it was like one of the best little joints to go to just for like, and it was awesome. You just got like bulgogi at lunch. And I'm like, it's actually good. It's not like pebbled beef floating in a sea of grease. It was actually pretty awesome. So
it was actual Korean food.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was actually, and what was really neat, I loved about it was that everybody started to eat everything. So it didn't mean like all the Korean staff would only eat the Korean food. They did like burgers and whatever else. But it was actually a lot of people's first exposure to Korean food. So like the staffers who were from Texas would be eating it. It's like that's how they learned about it. I'm like, that's so cool. Because it's like a cool, natural way to do that kind of cultural food exchange, which is like the greatest of exchanges.
It's like conversation starter as well. It's like,
oh yeah,
what did you make of this food? Kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Wow, Irish breakfasts.
I love a good full Irish, full English breakfast.
But that's what he's saying. He goes, it was too good. You worked there for a few months and you add a stone in weight. That I don't doubt.
Absolutely.
I discovered, fried bread. I need to never have that ever on my breakfast.
Yeah. It's years ago, but I have it.
All right, everybody.
Thanks so much. And thank you, everyone, for coming along.
Yeah, coming out and hanging out with us.
Sorry for breaking you guys with my roasts. I do apologize.
That's the goal. That was beautiful.
It was a content move, I'll admit.
I love it, man. I love it. Take care, you guys. I'll catch you soon.
All the best.
Later, everybody. Appreciate you.